In a different process, we had 20 people in the room, and my co-facilitator, Michelle James of Creative Emergence. I recommend you go to her site if you're interested in the world of creativity in the workplace, creativeemergence.com. Anyway, Michelle and I were co-facilitating a process in which we took our 20 participants and wrote out on 3x5 cards the values at each of these levels of consciousness. And we went all the way down to, I think, a purple again, and up to integral, I believe, which I think, if you divide it up right, is about 9 different levels, or 10 different levels. We broke it up so that there were 2 people at each level. We may have even gone all the way down to beige, which is kind of pre-linguistic almost. So what we did then was we gave 3x5 cards that had the values of each of those levels. We took them straight out of the Spiral Dynamics book. Spiral Dynamics focuses on the values held by each of these different perspectives all the way up in terms of our development of consciousness. They're called value memes, or vMemes, in the Spiral Dynamics perspective. And then we gave them an assignment. We said, you are on a board of directors of a company that makes concrete, or something like that. It was a rather mundane example, and we want you to develop a strategic plan about what you're going to do next in your growth, in your company's growth. You're all with the same company, but and we didn't tell them what these cards represented. We simply said, these are your individual values. Make sure that your voice is heard, and that it is heard from the perspective of these values. And so we let them go on like this, argue it out for a while, and it was fascinating for us, and I believe for them, to see these different levels of consciousness, different values at these different levels of consciousness, argue with each other. And then in the debriefing, we asked them what they heard. Did you find any allies? So it was interesting to see people with the same values finding allies. And then it was also interesting to see people with compatible values at different levels say, yeah, I thought he was representing something like what I was representing, but there was a little different twist to it, and then talk through what that different twist was. There were actually some dimensions of Spiral Dynamics' spiral system. If you're familiar with why there are cool and warm colors in the color coding, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if not, I recommend you read the book. That people with cool colors, green, blue, purple, found some affinity with each other, while people with the warm colors, red and orange, found some affinity, even though they were different levels of consciousness, and in some ways were opponents. So that was about an hour and a quarter process, including the post-process discussion. Very efficient, because we gave them the value cards. So then Michelle James and I did it again about a year later in a smaller retreat training. And we gave them a little different assignment. Basically the same idea. We gave them the values on cards. And then at a certain key point, Michelle jumped in and said, all right, stop the arguing. From this point on, you must continue to represent your values, but you must not negate anything anyone else on your team is saying. So it's all yes and. For those of you familiar with improvisation theory, yes and is a fundamental concept of improvisational actors. So she coached them for about 45 seconds on yes and then we turned them loose again. What was interesting to us is that people at this, even at pre-integral levels, all of a sudden created an integral conversation simply by adding the yes and component to it. So those are the 3 basic ways I wanted to share with you today. If you have any more questions, specific questions, please shoot me an email. tgoddard@integralcompany.com is one of my good addresses, so feel free to shoot me an email there if you want to talk some more, or just give me a call, 703-585-9220. Thanks.